So welcome to those who have joined us today live and those who might be watching the recording. My name is Cole McFarren, and I'm going to be talking today about engaging remote educators, lessons from an online university's annual faculty experience survey. And if you would, I would appreciate it if you bear with me. I'm going to be kind of hosting and presenting, so I'm going to try to keep an eye as well as I can on the chat. Doesn't look like a huge group, so I think we can probably manage. And I'm gonna just kind of ask some questions along the way. And yeah, I'm looking forward to just talking today with all of you about our insights that we've learned from working with our remote teaching workforce. So just a super quick intro to me and who I am. Like I said, my name is Cole McFarren. I am an associate director of academic technology and innovation at the University of Arizona Global Campus, which is a fancy way of saying I get to work with new technology and pilots. And I'm very, very intimately involved with our classroom experience for our faculty and our students and making sure that we're continually improving that. And this is me. This is my email address if you have any questions that you'd like to follow up with me. I've worked in a number of roles. I've been with the institution in some way, shape, or form for about 15 years now, working in roles in faculty training and faculty quality assurance, and then also like academic integrity before kind of moving over to this world where I work as kind of a liaison between our faculty and our IT and our leadership on initiatives. So it's pretty cool work, but one of my favorite projects that I get to work on throughout the year is our annual faculty experience survey. So I'm just kind of curious, how do some of you who might be at other institutions, what does it look like? What are some ways that you currently gather feedback from your remote workforce? It's still in some ways it's still new to many of us. I feel like I've been doing it for 5 to almost 10 years now, and it still feels new to be working completely remote with people that are all over sometimes the world. So what are some ways that you're currently doing that? It's not always easy to keep a pulse check on a regular pulse check survey that people either ignore or don't want to complete because they probably have a lot of other surveys too, which we also run into ourselves. User survey for the faculty lounge, yes, awesome. Fantastic. Welcome, Dr. Luke. Nice to see you here. Cool. But yeah, it's still hard. It's hard. I mean, I feel like sometimes I think a tendency that we all have, as institutions is that it's even easier to be siloed. I mean, like I feel like I have a good check on the people who I work directly with, but maybe people that I don't work, super closely with. I don't necessarily know how they're doing or how they feel about work every day. So we've really worked over the last few years to engage our remote workforce and specifically our faculty workforce. So today I'm going to be talking about the most recent results from our faculty experience survey. So just a little bit about us. UAGC is a part of the University of Arizona, and we are 100% online, almost completely asynchronous. Most of our courses are either 5, 6, or 9 weeks. So it's a very, very fast pace. Students typically take one course at a time. And almost all of, I said we're almost completely asynchronous. We do have we've started to do some synchronous sessions for some of our general education courses. So we're starting to do a little bit more of what we call live learning in some of our courses, but mostly asynchronous. Our students are able to work any time of day or night on their work, which is great for them because a lot of them are in the workforce, just like our faculty. One of the things that I think leads to the success of this survey every year is that it's a collaboration between so many different areas. I think that one of the ways that we're able to kind of avoid that survey fatigue is we gather information and feedback from like 5 or 6 different departments, and then we have one big survey as opposed to getting one survey a month throughout the year that are easier to ignore. So we really try to compile a lot of these into one and then kind of share back out from there. So, and this is the first year we were happy to collaborate with our faculty council on the survey as well. They contributed some questions, approved, provided some feedback. So they were close collaborators with us on this year, which I'll share a little bit about. So this year's survey was the most responses that we've ever gotten, both in the response rate and with the number of responses. I mean, we got over 1,000 responses with a 49% response rate, which we are very, very happy to see. And I think kind of speaks to like, yes, we really try to just focus as much as we can. And we try to keep it around the same time every year. So our faculty kind of know and expect that hopefully, it's coming. This year we had it open between March 21st and April 21st. We kind of moved to more of the academic year, calendar year. We kind of transitioned that this year. And it's a big survey too. We had about 30 questions on there, so people really are sticking it out um, and going through. Just to give a little bit of context too behind it. So this is the seventh year that we've actually completed the survey. And it actually began because about 8 years ago, we transitioned our learning management system over to Canvas. And we did all of the training and we launched it and we rolled it out and we got the faculty in there. And then we're about a year down the road and we said, we don't really know how people are doing. Like they're not reaching out with a lot of questions, but we want to know what's going well, what don't they like, what areas could they maybe use more training in, things like that. So that started as a little bit more of a needs assessment almost, I guess, for training. And then every year it grew a little bit. One department would add a couple questions, or we'd start collaborating with another group. And then specifically when we transitioned over and became a part of the University of Arizona, we really wanted to do a little more of a pulse check. We hadn't really been able to check in, on a whole with our faculty remote workforce. So we started asking questions about, like, do you feel like you belong here? Like, what motivates you in your work? How do you want to be recognized? Things like that. So it's expanded a lot over the years. But yeah, proud to say that this is our seventh edition of the survey. You can see here we have a nice, kind of mix of our faculty population. So we had about 54 full-time faculty and about 964 associate faculty. So right around half of each of those groups, pretty proportionate. Then we have faculty teaching undergraduate, graduate, and at the doctoral level as well. So one of the things we like to lead off with, we have just kind of a general pulse check question. To what extent are you dissatisfied or satisfied with your experience at UAGC as a faculty member? And over the years, we've really been able to see a very high satisfaction rate among our faculty, ranging between the 7, 8, 9, and 10, on a 10-point scale. And we've been doing this so many years and we're consistent with it that we're able to see kind of the year over year, what trends we're seeing. We can see kind of a 7.84 in 2022, a little bit higher in 2023, and then just a little bit of a dip down to 7.86 in the most recent edition of the survey. And then from there, we dive specifically into talking about the UAGC classroom experience. We're a Canvas institution. We use Canvas as our learning management system, and we have some very, very high satisfaction rates from our faculty in regards to the overall classroom experience. 37% is somewhat satisfied and 53% completely satisfied. And again, being able to track that, throughout the years, seeing a pretty consistent high satisfaction rating with our overall classroom. So this is great. It's nice to see. But in my opinion, where we really get some value and kind of some meat, out of this survey, in my opinion, is where we dive in and we really start asking faculty what they think about each specific part of the classroom experience. So we ask faculty what they think about announcements, what they think about discussions, the gradebook, speed grader. You'll see a lot of those features that are native to Canvas, specifically like the ones I just listed off, inbox, things like that. Very, very highly rated. The overall Canvas classroom experience, our faculty do tend to really enjoy. We see a little bit less satisfaction on like the Canvas mobile app and the video audio recorder, less of a, SpeedGrader is evil. I love that comment. We're going through a little bit of a transition with some SpeedGrader ourselves, so I'd be interested to hear more feedback on that. But our faculty tend to really like SpeedGrader, and maybe it's because we have another tool that we utilize called Waypoint, which is something that we do see a lower satisfaction rating in. So we are really able to use, data like this and say, hey, we're seeing a pretty stark difference in satisfaction ratings between this internal tool that we're using and maybe some other tools or options that we can be using. How can we make this better for faculty? How can we make this better for our students? In the long run. So we see kind of Waypoint and then Signals. So we have two internal tools that are rated a little bit lower, and those are ones that have been internally built and supported, which are great because they're customized to our experience, but they're also a little slow and clunky because we're the ones who have to do the upkeep and all of the updates and things like that. So, but again, we're able to use this data from this survey to really help push those conversations and say, hey, we really could use some focused work on this or that. We started asking more about the e-textbook platforms. So we've got a number of e-textbook platforms that we use in various classes depending on where you are. But then we also gather, information about our faculty portal. what they think about end of course survey. Course design and setup, and access to classroom settings is an interesting one because we utilize a kind of a fixed curriculum model to where, if you're teaching, a Gen 102 class, the core of that class is going to look the same from instructor to instructor. The assignment prompts are the same, the rubrics are the same. So faculty do have a little bit different access at our institution than they do at some Canvas institutions, which is great because you have all these things ready for you. But at the same time, sometimes you lose some of the controls or settings that would be really nice or handy to have at times. So we kind of started asking faculty about how they feel about that, and ask for some specific feedback on that. So yeah, please share in the chat. Maybe just a little bit. Do you think your faculty and or students would respond, similarly about their classroom experience? What do you think would be your faculty or students like favorite or maybe least favorite parts of their classroom? And I'm glad to see that feedback about grading on this mobile grading on iPad. That's good to hear. I'm glad to hear that SpeedGrader is very mobile friendly because we're working toward using that more with our faculty. So, because we know so many people are using mobile. Our students absolutely are. Faculty are somewhat, but we need to make it easier for them to do that. Yes, PowerPoint submissions and waypoints, absolutely. Oh, Adobe Connect. Oh, yes. Okay, good to know. Discussion boards. Oh my gosh, yes, yes. And that's been a conversation that's been, ongoing for us for years as well. I'll just kind of hop back. I mean, discussions, you can see they're not rated as high as some of these other Canvas features, certainly that they're surrounded by. And we have mixed feedback on that as well, from our faculty. It's like we in some of our open-ended content comments that we had from faculty, it's like, yes, we want a new way to be able to engage. We've been doing the same discussion formula for years and years. Like, what are some new ways that we can do that? And we've done a little bit of exploration with some third-party integrations based on that feedback specifically. Like, what are new ways that we can, build communities as opposed to just going in and posting a couple times over the weekend and not engaging as real as a real-time classroom. So, thanks for sharing. That's great. So one of the teams that we collaborated with on our survey this year was our assessment team. So discussing that specific tool that we use in our learning ecosystem, Waypoint, it's very very specific to the way that our assessment outcomes are mapped. So when faculty are in, assessing work and giving feedback, that all maps in a very very specific way for our outcomes. But we wanted more insight from our faculty about how they feel about the rubrics that they use, if the rubrics closely align enough, if they accurately assess student learning, if the length of the rubrics is in a good place, or if it's too long, or if it's too rigorous, and then if the rubrics are too specific. Because we really do have a very, very specific rubric for almost every assignment, written assignment at least, that we utilize. So we really wanted to gather some feedback from faculty on how they're feeling about that rubric usage and what that looks like. So that was a piece from our assessment team. Um, and then we also gathered, like I said, we're working with multiple teams here. So a lot of teams wanted to kind of know, hey, what's it like when you reach out to tutoring, for example, or what's it like when you reach out to the writing center, or what do you hear from your students about the library or the writing center, or technical support, access and wellness, faculty affairs. This is an important one too. The faculty, have a lot of connection, and every I'm sure this is the same everywhere, but every college is different in how they engage, their associate faculty. So I loved seeing that the support from our program chairs and faculty leadership was ranked very, very highly. So that's good to see. Faculty scheduling, student advising, seeing some really nice overall satisfaction rates for a lot of those services and departments. And then this is one that I really love to share with people because I feel like this could inform a whole year's roadmap of professional development. And essentially this is what it helps to do. In working with our, faculty support teams, we kind of wanted to see like, hey faculty, what do you want to have professional development on? Like, we think we know what you want, but we want to hear from you. Like, can you please confirm? And 44% of our faculty are interested in feedback strategies. Looking at what that looks like. 38% interested in best practices in online teaching and learning. Something that was ranked a little bit lower, but has been a huge part of our, culture and conversation over the last few years at UAGC is our culture of care. And we can kind of see from this, it's something that faculty are wanting a little bit less of, but I also feel like it's because they've gotten a lot of it over the last couple years. They're like, okay, like I'm on board, like let's do this. I know I want to talk about some other stuff. But I'll talk just a little bit about culture of care as well here in a couple slides. Yeah, faculty also wanting, some more information about university policies at 26%. Even technology and navigating the classroom. I always think that there's room for more efficiency and sharing of strategies and things like that. And then looking at instructor presence, time management, and then assessment and evaluation at 21%. We asked our faculty how knowledgeable they feel as a faculty member regarding the university's policies and resources. And they 51% acknowledging they feel somewhat knowledgeable, with about 38% saying completely. But with what, 89% of our faculty being in that section of the population, we feel pretty good about that. Um, and then recognizing the majority of UAGC faculty are educator practitioners who balance teaching and real world application. How would you rate your level of expertise in teaching practices? Like I was saying earlier, I mean, so many of our students are working professionals, and really that's our faculty population as well. Most of our faculty are, either teaching for other institutions as well, or they're working other jobs. They are working in their professional field and then teaching on the side like our students are. So really, really good to see though that 50% of our faculty do feel experts in teaching practices, with 41% at least feeling skilled. We asked our faculty what platforms they most frequently use to find out about, news, information, resources, learning opportunities, etc. So we see a lot of faculty use keeping note of our weekly faculty digest. Over the years, we had, just too many newsletters and too many, weekly emails and too many monthly emails, and we've really, I think, done a good job of, and I think this reflects that, of kind of trying to channel and funnel that into a weekly update that really includes like most of the things a faculty member would need to see. Obviously, there's more outreach, when it comes down to college updates and updates from their leadership. But we see also that's really where faculty get a lot of their news is from, their faculty leadership and from program related emails, etc. Um, Not terribly surprising, but a lot of our faculty are not using the social media to see, where our updates are coming from. Maybe they're checking it, but it's definitely not, one of their main sources of information, about teaching. We see staff council updates, faculty affairs internal website, the UAGC Chronicle. That's an internal digest of articles that we produce every quarter. So that's a really, really cool way for us to, kind of share internally as well. And then for the platforms used above, we asked them, why did you not, why are you not interested? A lot of times they didn't know they existed for 22%, 48% they say they never needed it. They don't feel like it's applicable a lot of times. Just want a little more information behind that from our faculty. But then, we also wanted to know, what really motivates our faculty. I mean, this is a question that we've actually asked for a couple of years now. And when we talk about, what is a top motivation for a faculty member teaching at UAGC, we see that by and large, serving our at-risk students and like helping improve people's lives. I mean, that is by and large why our faculty are here. And I don't think that's necessarily surprising, but it's really affirming in my mind to just know that like that is why our faculty are here. It's mostly to be working with our students and really to make a difference. And then to be kind of following up after that, being part of a learning community, being a part of that, trying new learning technologies. And then we have some that are rated a little bit lower. Benefits are not something that especially our associate faculty workforce really see much of, to be frank. So benefits ranking a little bit lower there. Ratio of compensation to workload, ranking a little bit lower. And then contributing to the field through research is one that's a little bit lower, but still relevant for our faculty as well. But again, probably less for our associate faculty, I would say. Going on to talk about some of those like kind of remote workplace workforce climate type issues that we really wanted to have a good kind of gauge on. We wanted to ask our faculty, do you feel like we've really successfully created that culture of care that we were aiming for, that we kind of launched a few years ago? And faculty do feel, very much in agreement that we've made some really good strides in creating a culture of care. Um, do our faculty feel that they are fairly compensated? That is definitely looking. It's obvious to see from this data. It's an area of opportunity for us, but this is actually a great platform for us to be able to take to, our leadership when we have those conversations. Say, hey, we know we're not paying our faculty enough, and they are saying it as well. So we can use this, in those conversations as well to really help keep a gauge on how people really feel about things. So, areas of opportunity are really important in addition to finding out what we're doing well. Um, and we can see that, UAGC has done a good job of supporting and fulfilling motivations. A lot of faculty feel very valued for their contributions, valued as a faculty member, valued as they feel like they're part of a community. So lots of really, really positive things there in, kind of the workplace climate and kind of sense of belonging for our faculty. Definitely along with some areas of opportunity though as well. So I had mentioned we collaborated with our faculty council in creating this year's survey, and they contributed a couple questions because we did ask, last year faculty kind of indicated in their survey feedback that they wanted to be more involved in academic decision-making processes. So we asked faculty how involved they were, currently in the academic program review. So we got some varying, degrees of interest in that one for sure, but then we asked about the faculty council and its subcommittees, and we found that, not a lot of folks are involved, but a lot of folks are kind of okay with not being involved. And I think that has to do with a lot of our faculty being that associate faculty role. We're working from class to class. A lot of times it's contract to contract. It's kind of difficult to have sometimes that continuity to maybe contribute to something like a faculty council or a subcommittee. So understandably that a lot of our population is less involved, but they're kind of okay with that in some ways. And then we kind of ended our survey this year with a new question that I was, kind of really excited to add just as like an overall, just kind of pulse check just to ask how likely is a faculty member to recommend UAGC as a place to work as another educator. Um, and we saw a really, really nice response to that. I mean, 49% are completely likely to recommend UAGC, 26% somewhat likely, 13% neutral, and then 5 and 7% somewhat very unlikely. So we do see, some really, really high satisfaction rates, like with the classroom satisfaction, overall satisfaction. We're seeing some really nice marks, and if you would refer us, as a workplace to another educator. Um, but like I mentioned, there's definitely areas of concern. So we offered throughout the survey a few opportunities for open-ended comments, and that's definitely where we saw some faculty mention certain technology tools requiring updates and modernization. We mentioned Waypoint and Signals, and there's some other, even mobile access for our classroom for our faculty is definitely an area of opportunity. Um, Someone mentioned in the chat earlier about discussions and that kind of being a pain point, and that still is kind of an area of opportunity that our faculty mentioned. I mean, our students definitely mentioned they want something different or something new, just a different way to engage, and our faculty are in the same boat. I mean, they've been, facilitating discussions, for years, and they keep it interesting and they do their best to keep the conversation going. But there's got to be new and different ways to engage, your students in conversation every week. So we do have, data within the survey to kind of back up to continue that exploration because that is important. Seeing some comments from our faculty, and I'm certain that this is probably not too different from a lot of other universities, but between workload, being very high, and then feeling like compensation is not appropriate to that workload necessarily. So seeing some feedback about that, definitely. And then recognition. I mean, we could have a whole presentation on how to successfully launch a recognition program for a remote workforce. It's difficult to do, and I'm sure that it varies, from college to college and from leader to leader. But from a university, at large as a united front, how do you create a meaningful recognition system for a remote workforce that it's not easy to do. And I would love to hear more about ideas on how to do that because I think that is an area of opportunity for us in general. Definitely some concern from faculty about students submitting AI created work and the general. I feel like a lot of other places, I feel like we did some. initial trainings when the first, AI first boomed onto the scene, we did some trainings and we tried to keep our faculty in the know and release some resources, and we still continue to do so. But there is still concern from faculty that students are using AI to write a lot and we can't necessarily catch it, or we're not having the right conversation with students about it. And then just generally looking for, is there more specific policy that can maybe in place, or something like that about AI? And then another piece that kind of came up was inconsistency in teaching schedules, which is probably due to a number of things. So number one, we've kind of changed up our start date model over the last couple of years, which has been a big transition for our faculty. We used to actually have classes that would start 50 days, not 50 days, 50 weeks out of the year. We would have courses that would actually start. So there's a lot of flexibility, and a lot of times faculty would be teaching more and more classes. And now that we've kind of scaled that back to where we're starting just a couple of times a month, and we can't quite always have faculty be on a more consistent teaching schedule. Sometimes the schedule varies a little bit, and it depends on enrollment and a number of variables as well. So our faculty would love to have a little bit more of a concrete teaching schedule, but that's kind of also the nature of a remote workforce and scheduling and everything like that, and being an associate faculty member. So that's where I'm going to kind of wrap things up today. I feel like that was most of, the big questions that we had from our survey that I wanted to share out. And but yeah, I wanted to just kind of open it up for Q&A and a little bit of discussion, since we have a little bit of time left over. And I'll go ahead and catch up with the chat too. Yes, we did get lots of feedback from our faculty that they would love to be recognized with cash money. I think we asked specifically in a question last year. It was like, how do you like to be recognized? And that was the number one response, would be some kind of an increase or a bonus, or something like that. So that makes sense. Oh yes, please. I see a raised hand. You can go and unmute yourself if you like.
Thanks, Cole. Oh, I can see it's wonderful. That's been really interesting. I feel very passionately about this because, as a research institution, our university farms this out to other people, which I just think is incredible. It's like one thing we're supposed to be good at is research, right? Um, but I felt, and I think I put a comment on this earlier on. One of your early slides had some bars, which were percentage of responses. Um, and it made me think of, I saw a really interesting seminar a few years ago from a colleague who had been looking at inverse Likert scales, or kind of 2D Likert scales.
Hmm.
And it was developed on software development and UI approval. And a lot of it is not just how much do you think this, but then from the other side, how much do you not think it. And I noticed this on one of your slides. There was one which was 18%. I need some help with time management. Fine, okay, great. I can accept that, right? And then one of the other ones, the first one was, I think, 38%. And I can't remember exactly, but it was
Let me see
something
if I
along
can
the
go
line.
back to it. Was it the one
Yeah,
asking about what they wanted professional development in?
yes, it
Okay,
was. It was quite an early one. There we go. Okay,
yeah, there we go.
so what this is saying here is, shouldn't put my glasses off. 62% of the staff don't want further guidance and support and help in best practice of online teaching. I was like, why the hell not? You should be 100% want that help. God's sake. And this is where the reverse Likert scales, which are very underutilized, can kind of, okay, is it just that you don't want it, or is there an opposite contrary point of view here? So it might be something worth, if, because this is a great thing to do, and doing it in house, doing it yourselves is incredibly sensible and probably cost saving. You could money you save, you could give to the staff.
There you go.
Um, yeah, it's something like worth thinking about, because it's, that for me is just asking questions. That you've given me your answers here, guys, and I want to know why. And you can't really say explain your answer for all these questions, because they just won't do it, right?
Sure.
But yeah, really interesting. Thank you. I greatly appreciated that.
Absolutely. No, I love hearing that insight onto it too. I'll have to look that up and maybe see if I can like reframe a couple questions for next year to see what training do you not want?
Yeah. Or maybe some sort of scale of importance, or yeah, it's if I can find the thing. I always take like months to find the bloody paper, but it's really good paper. if I can find it, I'll look you up on the system and ping it through to you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. That's great. Other thoughts, questions, feedback? And if not, we can. I know we're getting close to the last sessions of the day, so we can give folks a little bit of time back or a little bit of time between sessions. But I really appreciate you all showing up today and kind of talking through and engaging with me. And yeah, hopefully I learned a little bit, and hopefully y'all walked away with a little bit too. So please do. Yeah, we'll see you at the rest of the conference. I don't think we're over yet. Are we? Let me double check the schedule before I say that. No,
No,
it's in Pacific time. We got more going. I'm
we've
in
got another
Central
2
time.
hours yet. So it's only 25 to 11.
I was going to say you're going to be up for a while, aren't you? There you go. There you go. Well, thanks everybody. Take care, and we'll see you.